All right, looking at adding our chart. And before we get into the chart, a couple things, word of advice as far as the chart's concerned. One thing you want to keep in mind, whenever you have your data, you want to know and decide what type of chart is needed for the project. Some might be better off with a pie chart. Others might be a bar graph or a cylinder chart. It just depends on the type of data that you have. So even a line chart. So the different charts, make sure that you're understanding what kind of data you have and what type of chart best suits your data. The second thing you want to understand is knowing where to position the chart. Some charts are better off being on a completely separate tab. Other charts are fine enough just going right underneath the data itself. And that's actually what we're going to be doing here with this option. So to start off with the chart, in order to get the data, you've got to select the range. So the range that you select from the worksheet is highly critical, very, very critical when it comes to understanding what your chart is going to represent. Okay, and then insert tab followed by the column button. That's going to bring you to your chart, and I'm going to insert, for this example, just a clustered cylinder chart, and then I'm going to pull it down. So we'll resize it from there, and then we'll make a few changes. So let's start off with highlighting the range. The range that we want here, we want two things mainly. Okay, we want our column headings and we want our row headings. Do not, and I'm sure many of you are going to do this, do not include totals. We do not want totals here. We do not want totals. I will repeat, we do not want totals. Do not give me totals in your example. The totals will skew the entire chart. So you don't need them, not for this. So my range is going to go from A3 to G8. That's all that I need. Do not include totals. From there, I want to insert and I want to look at column. You can see here's all of your other charts that you have available. I'm going to go with column, and I'm going to go with a clustered cylinder chart. I'm going to click on that. You can see that my range is now highlighted behind me, and I have chart tools now, and here are my options. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so that it's easier to see. You can move this around by clicking somewhere on the perimeter of the chart. You get that cardinal directional arrow. You can click it and move it around. Okay, scrolling down here to look at it. My chart, now I'm going to resize it here, and I'm actually going to resize it from cell A11 here, and I'm going to bring it down through H23. So I want to make it essentially the same size here as my my data right above it. Okay, now there's a lot of things that you can do with these charts, but again, we're going to take things in stride. We're not going to do everything all at once. We'll add in more information to the charts as we get there. But for right now, we're just going to do a couple basic things here. So after we've resized the chart, okay, and you can see that there are little dotted lines on the corners and in the middle of the vertical and horizontal bar that you can actually adjust it that way too. Okay, but for this example here, all I'm going to do is change the chart style. So I'm going to click on the More button, and I'm going to look for a different chart style. Now you can see here you got a plethora of options, all based on the theme colors that you choose. Okay, but for this option here, I'm just going to choose Style 34. I'm going to click on that. You'll see that there's a few things in the background that have changed it. Okay, and now it looks pretty good. So you can deselect outside of there to get the selection off. And then the last thing that we're going to apply here is, if you look down here in the bottom corner, bottom left-hand corner, you got 3 sheets. Sheet 1, Sheet 2, and Sheet 3. Sheet 2 and Sheet 3 are blank. It always defaults, when you open up a new Excel sheet, it always defaults to 3 sheets. People use multiple sheets because because Excel has so much room, not everybody's going to use all of that room. So it's easier for most people to just use multiple sheets. And if you're going to use multiple sheets, you need to name those sheets so you know what's on them. So to rename a sheet, you can do one of two things. You can double click and rename it. You can also right click and rename. Either way, it's the same way. And I'm going to type in the name, the subtitle. It was the Lifetime Fundraising Summary. And I'm going to click enter to save that. And I'm going to right click one more time, and I'm going to apply a tab color. And I'm just going to go with this orange color here. Now you can see that it's just a light shade of orange right now until I click outside. And then it goes to standard text with a more of a bright orange option. Okay. So from there, I click back inside. Now you can see that it's bolded. And here's my sheet. And I'll zoom out here again so that you can see the whole thing. So this is it. This is our entire first chapter. It's actually, when you look at it, it's very basic, very simple. Again, the hardest thing is just, probably in my opinion, for most of you, it's knowing how to format the data. Okay, not so much the data input right now, but it's going to be formatting the data. Looking at the chart too, if I click on the chart, notice here are my range points. Okay, you can see here's my row headings. Okay, my row headings, which are right here. My column headings, which are right below here on the cylinder chart, and then my data inside, which is representative of each number. Okay, now everything is really manageable here. You can see for each piece that you click on, it will actually show you what that data is that you are selecting and what you're looking at. Okay, so there's not really going to be a whole lot that you're going to need to modify in those terms, because anything that you change here is going to change down here. For example, so let's look at an option here. So maybe this is actually 100,000. So I'll type in 100,000 there. I'll hit enter, and you can see, well, my chart actually now is updated in real time. So anything that you change up here will be affected down here because that whole range has been selected. Okay. Now let me show you something too. If you include your totals, this is what it's going to look like. So if your table, your chart looks like this, it's wrong. Again, look at your column headings. If you see totals applied down there, you need to get rid of that. And you can click on one of these edges here, any of these corner edges, and you can click and you can drag to release and let them be modified. Okay. So again, as you have questions, if you have questions, please let me know. Okay, and we'll work through it. All right. So this is it for the first chapter. Very basic chapter to get you guys introduced to Excel, and then we'll build on that from that. Okay. So again, if you have questions and as you have questions, please let me know.